You guys already know when I saw this story this morning, it put the biggest smile on my face. Once again, free content given to me from the mainstream sports media. I want to take a second to thank the mainstream media. Without them, this channel does not exist. I was preparing the Novak Djokovic video this morning, clicked on my news feed to head on over to Google. And what is the first headline that popped up on my news feed? An article from Yahoo Sports talking about the fact that right now, the NFL only has one head coach that's African American. One. Once Brian Flores and David Culley were fired this week, it left only Mike Tomlin. Brian Flores. Brian Flores deserved to be fired. Matter of fact, I told you guys a year ago that the Dolphins should fire Brian Flores. The second that he benched Ryan Fitzpatrick to start Tua, Brian Flores should have lost his job. The Dolphins were rolling last season, both offensively and defensively. I'm not a fan of Ryan Fitzpatrick, but he is your typical system quarterback. Sometimes they're called a game manager. These quarterbacks, they're usually streaky, but they can thrive in the right system. And when they're on fire, you let them keep going. You don't bench them. Miami had a playoff caliber defense last season. Ryan Fitzpatrick, like I said, was on fire. He was playing well. But Brian Flores, he wanted to go ahead and start the future now. To hell with making the playoffs. We need to develop Tua for the future 5 years from now. Damn, how'd that work out for you? David Culley, on the other hand, I don't think David Culley deserved to be fired. He should have kept his job in Houston. Considering the circumstances, I thought David Culley did one hell of a job for the Texans. He didn't make the decision to sit Deshaun Watson. That came from the front office. Sure, the Texans were 4-13, but they were competitive. Go look at their roster. This team shouldn't have won a game. The McNair family over the last few years allowed Bill O'Brien to run off all their best players. He destroyed the franchise. David Culley inherited a shithole and still managed to keep the Texans competitive all season. Now, of course, anytime a black coach gets fired, the media jumps all over the narrative that the NFL is racist. This started yesterday with Adam Schefter, who wants so badly to fit into the social justice club. Oh, he just wants to be included so bad. He tries so hard to be woke. In Rappaport and NFL Network, an actual journalist was the first to report that David Culley had been fired by the Texans. Adam Schefter jumps on the story, and he adds the little tidbit that with the firing of David Culley, the NFL now has just one black head coach. My thing is, why does this need to be mentioned right now? The last I checked, there are 7 NFL teams with head coaching vacancies. 7 right now. That's damn near 25% of the league. Can we at least give them a chance to interview head coaches, to hire coaches before we start jumping to conclusions? Now, that's a rhetorical question. We know the answer to that question. The media saw a morsel of truth that fit their narrative, and they exploit it. That morsel of truth, Mike Tomlin is the only black head coach in the NFL right now. The media knows this is going to change over the next week or so. Hell, it will probably change this weekend. Todd Bowles, Brian Flores, Gerard Flores, all likely to fill coaching vacancies. In Rappaport, an actual journalist reported this. I keep stressing that point, actual journalists, because that's rare in the modern media. We don't have actual journalists anymore. We have professional race baiters, propagandists, people like Kimberly Martin, whose only skill besides being completely useless is pushing racial propaganda. She claimed the NFL system isn't equal, it's not equality. I wonder if she was talking about the fact that 70% of the players in the NFL are black. Shit, doesn't sound equal to me. I don't want the NFL to be equal. I don't want it to be that way. We just talked yesterday about the lack of competitiveness in college football and how the NFL is the best league in the country because it's so balanced, so competitive. You know why the NFL is 70% black players on the field? Because they're the best players. I don't want to see Greg McElroy. I don't want to see Stetson Bennett. I don't want to see Ryan Leaf. Give me Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray. Does that make me racist against my own race? I will repeat the same statistics I have said many times when we have talked about this media bullshit with the NFL. African Americans are roughly 13% of the American population. Now let's assume for a second that 3 black coaches will fill the 7 vacancies. That would mean black coaches make up roughly 13% of NFL coaching positions. Am I the only one that sees the resemblance? I mean, this is not difficult to understand. But KC, how can players be 70% and coaches only 13%? There's a simple answer to that question. The majority of NFL head coaches are offensive coordinators before they get promoted. And when you think about it, that makes perfect sense. This is a quarterback-driven league. Most offensive coordinators start out as quarterbacks coach. You want someone that knows how to develop a young quarterback. Just look at the teams in the market for a coach right now. Giants, Bears, Texans, Dolphins, Vikings, Broncos, Jaguars. Besides the Vikings, what do all those teams have in common? They either have no quarterback or they have a young quarterback desperately needing development. My social justice warriors out there, are you following me so far? I know logic is hard for you to grasp. Okay, the majority of head coaching vacancies in the NFL given to offensive coordinators. Going into the 2021 NFL season, you know how many black offensive coordinators were in the NFL? 5. 5. So even if the NFL wanted to be about affirmative action instead of doing what they do now, hiring the best candidate, NFL teams would only have a small pool of candidates to pull from. It's not about the NFL being racist. The NFL has created more black millionaires than any other industry in the world. Yet, the media is not going to tell you that. The only narrative they run with is the lack of black head coaches. Turn on Woke Take on ESPN next week, and it's all you will hear about. Stephen A. Smith with his fake outrage, blasting the NFL for being a racist institution. While you're watching Woke Take, count how many white, Hispanic, or Asian analysts you find on the show. Count them. If I had to guess, it's still only Tim Tebow. Another thing, the woke media never really explains how many black head coaches will be enough to make the NFL balanced. Clearly, 13% is not enough. Is it 25%, 50, 100, 110%, 200%, 1,000%? They don't tell you because it's not about having black head coaches in the NFL. When Stephen A. Smith is watching the NFL, which I think is rare, if you've ever heard his takes on NFL football, it is clear this man spends very little time watching the NFL. Hell, he can't keep up with which players play for which team. But on the rare occasion Stephen A. watches the NFL, do you really think he gives a shit about the race of the coaches? No. You just want to see the best game. Like I said, this is not about black head coaches in the NFL. It is about the media pushing a narrative that supports the overall agenda. The mainstream media has hated the NFL for years. It's too violent. They don't care about players' safety. It's black men entertaining a white audience. They hate the NFL because the NFL represents America. It's what the media calls toxic masculinity. They would rather you watch Leah Thomas crush the hearts and souls of women swimmers across the country than watch men full of toxic masculinity compete at the highest level. At the end of the day, NFL teams care about one thing and one thing only: winning. They're going to draft the quarterback who can help them win. They're going to hire the coach that can help them win. Race doesn't matter unless you're a member of the media or a virgin on Twitter. All right, let me know what you guys think of the media overreacting again, pushing the propaganda. And I can't believe I made it through this entire video without mentioning Jemele Hill, but we'll save her for another day. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.